बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम।
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. First reading is from chapter 3, Al-Imran, verses 185 to 187. كل نفس ذائقة الموت وإنما توفون أجوركم يوم القيامة من زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز. وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. لتبلغن في أموالكم وأنفسكم ولتسمعن من الذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلكم ومن الذين أشركوا أذى كثيرا وإن تكفروا واتقوا فإن ذلك من عزم الأمور. وإذ أخذ الله ميثاق الذين أوتوا الكتاب لتبين لا تبيننه للناس ولا تكتمونه فنبذوه وراء ظهورهم واشتروا به ثمنا قليلا فبئس ما يشترون. Every soul must taste death, and you will be paid your reward fully only on the day of resurrection. Then whoever is removed far from the fire and is made to enter the garden, he indeed attains the object. And the life of this world is nothing but a provision of vanities. And you will certainly be tried in your property and your persons. And you will certainly hear from those who have been given the book before you and from the idolaters much abuse. And if you are patient and keep your duty, surely this is an affair of great resolution. And when Allah took a covenant from those who were given the book, you shall explain it to people and shall not hide it, but they threw it behind their backs and took a small price for it. And evil is what they buy. Next one is chapter 16, verse 61. وَلَوْ يُؤَاخِذُ اللَّهُ النَّاسَ بِظُلْمِهِمْ مَا تَرَكَ عَلَيْهَا مِنْ دَابَّةٍ وَلَكِنْ يُؤَخِّرُهُمْ إِلَى أَجَلٍ مُّسَمًّى وَإِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهُمْ لَا يَسْتَأْخِرُونَ سَاعَةً وَلَا يَسْتَقْدِمُونَ. And if Allah were to destroy people for their wrongdoing, He would not leave on it a single creature, but He gives them respite till an appointed time. So when their doom comes, they cannot postpone it an hour, nor can they bring it forward. And the last one is chapter 89, verses 27 to 30. Ya ayyuhan nafsul mutma'innah arji'i ila rabbika radiyatan mardiyah adkhuli fi ibadi wadkhuli jannati. O soul, who are at rest, return to your Lord, well pleased with Him, well pleasing your Lord. So enter among my servants and enter my garden. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. Over the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've had news that we've lost a number of valuable members of the Jamaat, dedicated, who sacrificed much of their time and effort and energy and money in the service of Jamaat. I spoke about some of them who passed away last Friday. And then out of the blue, we had the news that our brother Ebrahim, the president and imam of the South Africa Jamaat, had had a heart attack. All of us all over the world, including the UK, prayed fervently for his recovery. And the initial news was encouraging. He needed a stent or something, if I remember rightly, and they put a temporary one in, and they were trying to dissolve the blockage in his arteries before putting a permanent device in, and so on. And the news was encouraging. But as the Holy Quran says, humans plan and Allah plans. And Allah is the best planner. And suddenly we had the news that Ebrahim had left us to go to a better place. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. There is a long history of this family's dedication and service to the Jamaat. As far as I know, his uncle Daud Saido was the first person to join the Lahore Ahmadiyya movement. He went to Lahore and he attended a Jalsa Salana, or the annual gathering there. But at the time, just like working in Berlin, our policy was simply to defend and propagate Islam rather than create Lahore Ahmadiyya Jamaats. And Daud Saido and those around him did wonderful work in this regard. And people close to him, his family and so on, they joined the Lahore Ahmadiyya movement and formed a small congregation of Lahore Ahmadiyyas. He was the uncle of Brother Ebrahim. And also, I guess, he took him under his wing and taught him and trained him, etc. The true mettle of the South Africa Jamaat was shown in the two court cases that took place there. And it all started very innocently. The Jamaat, although an organization, wasn't a formally registered charity. So they decided, and although they had been working as a non-registered charity for many decades, they decided time had come to register themselves with the government as a charity. Because, as you know, there are certain benefits that charities get, like, tax refunds and all this kind of thing. And one thing you had to do was to place an advertisement in a newspaper to say that so-and-so is registering as a charity with the government. And the Jamaat placed that advertisement stating that they were applying for registration as an Islamic charity under the name Ahmadiyya Shah Islam. And the next thing that happened was unexpected for them. All hell broke loose in South Africa. How dare the Ahmadis apply to the government for registration as a charity? and they're not Muslims, they're kafirs, they're heretics, they're this, they're that, and so on. So the Jamaat felt that they had to defend themselves. And they went to court to defend themselves and say that these are false charges against us, that we're not Muslims, and there's been defamation and all this kind of thing. Unfortunately, the Jamaat had a very good barrister who advised them that they should go to court. There should be two plaintiffs, an individual and an organization, because the court might decide that an organization can't be defamed. So our brother Ismail Peck, of late memory, he became the individual. And an application was made to the court, and it resulted in problems for Ismail Peck, for Ebrahim, for all the other brothers and sisters in South Africa. I visited Ismail's house when I was there last time, and at the end of that road is a mosque. And Sunnis every time, 5 times a day, when they went to say their prayers, they would throw stones at his house. At first, Ismail didn't know what was going on, but then when he found out, he would come out and stand in the porch and say aloud, "I'm Ismail Peck. I'm one of the plaintiffs in that case. You want to throw stones? Here I am. I'm not afraid of you." He did that 5 times a day, not for weeks, not for months, but for years, until the case was decided. And of course, he had support of Brother Ebrahim, who supported him every step of the way in taking the action that he had. So remember, Brother Ebrahim was the president and the imam. If the president and the imam is not brave, what is the rest of the Jamaat going to do? Armies are led by brave people, not by cowards. And this is what we saw in Brother Ebrahim, that he was such a courageous and brave person that the whole Jamaat, and such sincere person that the whole Jamaat would follow him blindly, without asking a question. Anyway, so we had initial setbacks that the barrister had predicted. The court struck out the claim by the Jamaat, and that just left the other plaintiff, which was Ismail Peck. And eventually the case was decided in Ismail Peck's favor, that he is a Muslim, and it was decided mainly on the evidence of the expert witness, Hafiz Sher Mohammad. And Dr. Zahid Aziz went to interpret in the court, etc. But when this news was announced in the newspapers, again all hell broke loose in South Africa, particularly in Cape Town. People did everything to destroy the Lahori homes, their businesses, their jobs, you name it. And this persecution was bravely taken by people like Brother Ebrahim and other members of South Africa. He would always console and comfort the people with this verse of the Holy Quran. You will certainly be tried in your property and your persons, and you will certainly hear from those who have been given the book before you, and from the idolaters much abuse. And if you're patient and keep your duty, surely this is an affair of great recognition. And he would encourage them to face the persecution and be brave. Inshallah, Allah will support. And then we had the second case. Which was between two imams, because one imam sued another, saying that he's defaming me, he's denigrating and insulting me because I regard Ahmadis as Muslims, and he says this has made him a kafir and so on. So I need the court's protection. So he sued the imam and the organization of which this person was the imam. His name was Sheikh Jassim, the person, plaintiff. Again, Hafiz Sheikh Mohammad went to South Africa as an expert witness. And Chaudhry Masood Akhtar and I went as translators and interpreters. And how difficult the situation was can be seen from the fact that when Hafiz Saab would come out of the barrister's chambers, Hafiz Sheikh Mohammed and I, when we would come out of the barrister's chambers to go to court to give evidence and for me to interpret, members of South Africa Jamaat would gather around us to protect us from anyone who tries to assassinate us, tries to murder us. And then the militia with some machine guns would surround members of the Jamaat. And this is how we were taken to court and from court to the barrister's chambers every single day. Every single day. And it was through Ebrahim's leadership that not a single member of the South Africa Jamaat complained. Not a single member became weak in their faith because they looked to him and they saw in him a man of integrity, a man of honesty, a man of dedication. Just to give you one example, there was a man who attended court every day. He would just sit at the back and just listen, and if we needed a cup of tea, he would run out and get us a cup of tea, or if we needed a photocopy, he will get us that photocopy and so on. And one day he didn't turn up. And the following day I saw him and I sort of said, you missed yesterday, is everything okay? Are you okay? Are you feeling well, etc.? And he said, it was my father's funeral yesterday. And as I tried to console him, he looked at me and he said, I wasn't allowed to join the funeral because I'm an Ahmadi. And I drove some distance behind the funeral cortege and we waited for people to leave the cemetery, and then I went in and said my final farewell to my father. I'm sorry I couldn't come yesterday. That is the character and mettle of the people, of the members of the Jamaat, and they are the ones who looked up to Ebrahim. And they are the ones who followed him blindly. Look at this poor man. he is not allowed to join the funeral prayers of his father because he is in heaven. And he doesn't waver in his faith. And you know what his job was? He drove taxi at night. All night he was driving his taxi, and then he would take a few hours rest or sleep, and then he will rush to the court in case something was needed. People think service is when you do something great, you write a big book, you write Encyclopedia of Islam, etc. Yes, that is service. But if all you can do is to clean the floor of the mosque, that is also service. Because service is not about what big books you've written, what great speeches you've made, and so on. Service is what you could do. Whatever you could do, did you do that? Or did you not do that? If someone can't make big speeches, if someone can't write big books, and all they can do is paint, and they paint the mosque, they've done their duty. And as the Holy Quran says, and you will be paid your reward fully only on the day of resurrection. God won't sit there weighing how much subscription you paid, or what great books you wrote, what great speeches you made. The question you will be asked is, did you do whatever you could for the service of Islam, for the service of this Jamaat? And Brother Ebrahim did whatever he could. I came back from South Africa and we kept in touch through email and telephone and all this kind of thing. And initially, he agreed to my request to become one of the editors of The Light when it started printing from the United Kingdom. But after that, the work of the Jamaat in South Africa built up to such a degree that it became difficult for him to continue with that, because he took everything very seriously. He went through the whole of The Light meticulously, picking up errors and spelling mistakes and whatever else you have. And you see, you have to look at opportunities for propagation. Last time I was in Cape Town was after I'd been to the Jalsa in Ivory Coast, and so I carried on to Cape Town to see Ebrahim and etc., etc. And I told him that we had now formed a Jamaat in Ivory Coast, and our brother Abu Tiani is in charge there and doing good work, etc., etc. So Brother Ebrahim started writing short, easy articles for him, gave them the title Good News, and started sending them to Abu Tiani, who would translate them into French and distribute them to people. So if you want to do some work, if you want to do something, you can find a way. But if you don't want to do something, there are 1,000 excuses you can make. I can't do this, I can't do that, oh, this is this and that, and so on, and whatever else you have. So Brother Ebrahim found a way of propagating Islam in French-speaking Africa, just because I gave him Abu Tiani's email. And he didn't just leave it. When I was there the last time, he took me around. He showed me all the places in South Africa. He showed me which were important to us. Barristers' chambers where we used to go, and the Ismail Peck's house, Daud Saido's house, etc., etc. And unfortunately, my plane going out there was delayed, so they had to, Ebrahim and his son had to go to the airport twice, but they didn't mind at all. And they kept me in their house and treated me wonderfully. Ebrahim and his wife and his son, etc. And when he took me to the airport for the return flight, we arrived a bit early. And so we decided to have a cup of tea. And I decided to take a photograph. And I still have that photograph of Brother Ebrahim and his wife and us sitting at Cape Town Airport having a cup of tea. Little did we know that that was the last we'll meet in person and speak. In words of the Holy Quran, O soul that are at rest, return to your Lord, well pleased with him and well pleasing him. So enter among my servants and enter my God. May Allah grant Brother Ebrahim a high station in heavens amongst those whom he held dear and in whose service he spent an entire lifetime. Over half a century. It's easy to say. Dedicated service under persecution for over half a century. May his soul rest in peace. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Qur'anil Azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim. Innahu ta'ala jawadun kareemun malikun wa rufur rahim. On Instagram, we are logging off now, but after our Friday praise, we'll say Ghaibana Jinaza for Brother Ebrahim. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تهيئنا. عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم ويستجيب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. अल्लाहु अकबर अशहदु अल्ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह अशहदु अन्ना मुहम्मदर रसूलुल्लाह हय्य अलस सलाह हय्य अलल फलाह कद कामतिस सलाह अल्लाहु अकबर ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह अल्लाहु अकबर। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन अर्रहमानिर रहीम मालिकी यौमिद्दीन इय्याका नअबुदु व इय्याका नस्तईन इहदिनस सिरातल मुस्तकीम सिरातल लज़ीना अनअमता अलैहिम गैरिल मग़दूबि अलैहिम वलद्दॉल्लीन आमीन। इज़ा जाअ नस्रुल्लाहि वल फ़त्ह वरअयतन नासा यदखुलूना फी दीनिल्लाहि अफ़वाजा फसब्बिह बिहम्दि रब्बिका वस्तगफिरहु इन्नहु काना तव्वाबा। अल्लाहु अकबर। समी अल्लाहु लिमन हमिदा रब्बना अल्लाहु अकबर। अल्लाहु अकबर। अल्लाहु अकबर। अल्लाहु अकबर। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन अर्रहमानिर रहीम मालिकी यौमिद्दीन इय्याका नअबुदु व इय्याका नस्तईन इहदिनस सिरातल मुस्तकीम सिरातल लज़ीना अनअमता अलैहिम गैरिल मग़दूबि अलैहिम वलद्दॉल्लीन तब्बत यदा अबी लहबिन व तब मा अग़ना अन्हु मालुहु मा कसब सयस्ला नारन ज़ात लहब इम्रअतुहु हम्मालतल हतब फी जीदिहा हब्लुम मिन मसद। अल्लाहु अकबर। समी अल्लाहु लिमन हमिदा रब्बना अल्लाहु अकबर। अल्लाहु अकबर। अल्लाहु अकबर। Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah. Min kulli dhanbin wa atubu ilayh. Funeral prayers for brother Ebrahim. Just to remind you that there are just 4 takbeers. After the first takbeer, you start normally, as you would in any prayer. After the second takbeer, you say the Durood Sharif, and after the third takbeer, you say the Janazah prayer. If you know the Arabic words, use those. If you don't know the Arabic words, then pray for the brother who has passed away and all those, your elders and everyone who have passed away. Allah may accept their good deeds and have mercy on their souls. And after the 4th takbir, the prayer then comes to an end. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa wa rahmatullah. Thank you for joining us for today's Friday service. I hope you also joined us in saying Namaz Janaza Vaibhana for our brother Ebrahim. May Allah grant him a high position in the hereafter. I take my leave of you until we meet again next Friday. Assalamu alaikum. Khuda Hafiz.